It's been a hot topic for more than a year, and one Portland city leaders are still debating how to deal with the rise in gun violence and historic levels of homicides.
What? Hold on. There's no way she just said that. Hold on.
It's been a hot topic for more than a year, and one Portland city leaders are still debating how to deal with the rise in gun violence and historic levels of homicides.
Oh, she really did say that. That hasn't been the hot topic in Portland for the last year. What is she talking about? All we've heard about from Portland over the last year and some change is this.
Those protests and Black Lives Matter rallies across Portland, including several in the downtown area. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kathy Marshall in tonight for Laurel. Yesterday, the protests saw its calmest night in a while after federal officers were pulled back. However, based on a tweet from President Trump tonight, it appears they're maintaining a presence here, but a less visible one. Let's check in with KGW's Maggie Vespa live downtown right now by the courthouse. Maggie?
Hey, Kathy. Yeah, this is the 65th night for those keeping track, consecutive night of protests here in Portland against racism and police violence in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Huge crowd. We had kind of a smaller crowd out here last night, but I'll step out of the way so you can see it for yourself. This is kind of more reminiscent of earlier this week, especially when we were still talking about the Fed.
Remember I told you they weren't out there protesting. They were using this as an excuse to get out the house during the pandemic without looking like bad people that didn't care about the health of others. It didn't care about social distancing. And, this was an excuse to get out of the house for pasty liberals. They're out there having drum circles and poetry readings and socializing. And then every couple of hours they get to chanting and acting crazy. And then the element comes around and starts looting. And then they start looting. But pretty much this is just a social gathering. But this is what they were doing for the last year. We haven't been hearing about any gun violence. We know it's been going on across the country. Everywhere the rates have raised, but no one's been talking about the Portland gun violence except for this channel. It's the only channel that's been talking about the rampant gun violence in Portland. The last year in Portland, they've been talking about this.
Activists with the Toronto chapter of Black Lives Matter were in Portland today for a rally as a crowd gathered behind the Justice Center.
Fox 12's Kendra Kent is live tonight with their message to the Rose City. Kendra?
Yeah, that's right. These activists wanted to thank Portland for all of their hard work they've put in on the ground and also their time and energy into these protests against police brutality. More than 100 people gathered as local and international supporters of BLM spoke and asked the crowd to keep protesting. Wealth inequality and reparations for the Black community was also a main topic among the event's focus to defund police and come up with new solutions for community safety. Janiyah Khan, a prominent activist with Black Lives Matter, says helping communities of color involves investing public money in new ways and moving away from capitalism.
We're going to keep calling to defund the police. We're going to make sure that these mayors hear our voices. And that we fight to control city budgets because we don't want handouts, we want handovers.
This is what they've been talking about for the last year in Portland. Okay? Now let's go back to what they are just starting to talk about in Portland that we've been covering the whole time.
It's been a hot topic for more than a year, and one Portland city leaders are still debating how to deal with the rise in gun violence and historic levels of homicides. Thanks for joining us tonight for Queen 6 News at 5. I'm Elizabeth Din.
I'm Jeff Gianola. They've been coming under criticism for not taking immediate action, but city and county leaders did meet today to discuss possible solutions.
Our Liz Birch was in on that meeting today. She joins us live now. Now, you've been digging deeper, taking a look at the numbers. And Liz, police also tell you this is now a record year when it comes to this kind of violence.
Guess what year held the previous record? You guessed it. 2020.
Police also tell you this is now a record year when it comes to this kind of violence.
Yeah, Elizabeth, some pretty staggering and sobering statistic I confirmed with police today. They tell me that now we've had more homicides this year than any other year in Portland's history. Keep in mind, it's only October. We're going to delve into those numbers in just a moment. But first, we want to show you some video right now. This video is from shootings over the weekend. Now, this meeting today followed another violent weekend in Portland. Police responded to 13 shootings in just 28 hours. Those shootings killed one person and injured 3 others. They were spread throughout the city and strained police resources. Today in that meeting, leaders talked about treating gun violence as a public health crisis. Sheriff Mike Reese also discussed the sheriff's office efforts to get guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them.
Give me an ID on the people who are responsible for these shootings in Portland, aka people who shouldn't have them. Give me a description, some general characteristics of those people.
One of the most important challenges we have right now in our community, and that's ending gun violence and literally saving people's lives.
This kind of looks like my live stream on Oc Nation TV. Make sure you come through and join us on Oc Nation TV, Tuesdays and Fridays at 9:30. And to all y'all who were there on Friday, man, I was not playing with my health. I have a keloid, man. Okay? If you know what a keloid is, if you're a brother, you know what a keloid is. A keloid is something that I think only brothers get. It's like some kind of skin, like, I don't know. I somebody get in the comment section and my keloid was irritating me. And y'all thought I was playing with my y'all thought I was playing with my nipple, man. Y'all crazy, man. But salute to everybody who joined. Have a good time. All are welcome. All questions are answered. We get down to the nitty-gritty on the live stream. Link is in the description. Oc Nation TV, Tuesdays and Fridays at 9:30 p.m.
Challenges we have right now in our community, and that's ending gun violence and literally saving people's lives. I believe that taking firearms out of the mix reduces the lethality of these encounters, whether it's family violence, gang or group violence, or crimes committed with a firearm.
Now, I just want you to look at this. You got 3 sisters on the city council of a city that's 6% Sun people. Three sisters. And I'll show you why that's apropos when we go to the gun memorial. But still, only 3% of the people in the general public, only 6% of the people in the general public are Sun people. 3% of them are sisters. And they have 3 sisters on the city council. Talk about overrepresentation.
I found out just how bad things are here. According to police in Portland alone this year, there have been 969 shootings, which have injured 307 people and killed 51. In total, there have been 67 homicides. That's one more than the previous record of 66 in 1987. Now, to be clear.
Oops. This is not the worst year since 2020. This is the worst year since 1987. While the rest of the country is going back to the 90s, Portland's going back to the 80s.
In total, there have been 67 homicides. That's one more than the previous record of 66 in 1987. 87. Now, to be clear, none of those numbers I just shared with you includes officer-involved shootings. Now, Chief Chuck Lavelle did say something pretty interesting in that meeting today. He says they're hoping to have their focused intervention team, that's the team that would try to prevent shootings, up and running next month. Live in Portland, Liz Berg.
Translation, we'll have more cops on the streets in the coming months. Wow. So after maybe a year and some change of protesting in the street every night, every night protesting in the streets, the end result is massive POC gun violence in the streets, to the point where y'all have to get more cops. Wow. You think the Portland Gun Memorial is going to reflect the 6% Sun population? And trust me, the majority of these glacier gliders were whacked out by Sun people as well. But we're already seeing an overrepresentation right off the bat. Sun people are overrepresented on this gun memorial. Sisters too. A lot of sisters. I think I may have to recalibrate my saying that 10% Sun people can make a city feel dangerous. I might even have to say 6. Like Portland. Wow. And I know y'all looking at this and y'all saying, well, there's a lot of Ombritos and glacier gliders on here. And I'm like, well, yeah. Are we holding them to the standard that they can't ever kill anybody? If it wasn't for the Sun people in this city, they'd have like 30 murders a year, 20 murders a year. That's darn good for a city that size. City with a pro basketball team and a national profile.
Coin 6 getting answers from Portland's mayor today after weeks of pressing his office about the record gun violence.
What accountability do you feel resides with you, and what actions are you and your office taking to prevent our community's young children from being shot at and near gunfire while they're playing in their neighborhoods?
I feel highly accountable for community safety. That's part of the reason I'm standing here today in front of the press, outlining the steps that we're taking now, outlining what we're going to be doing in the future.
Coin 6 reached out to a handful of times over the past several days immediately after this shooting here terrified a neighborhood, threatening children playing outside just a few feet away as gunfire erupted. We spoke with the father of those children earlier this week, and as city leaders begin to discuss gun violence, they're under criticism for not taking urgent action.
They couldn't take urgent action because they were the linchpin, the fulcrum, ground zero for BLM, profile, and the whole movement to paint this country as a nakedly racist place, irredeemably racist place that's hunting Sun people in the streets every day, and they just can't catch a break, and they trying to keep a low profile, but we keep chasing them out of their little holes and taking them out for no reason. And then simultaneously talk about the fact that those same people are running through the streets, shooting everything up, killing glacier gliders, ombritos, crouching tigers, and yes, mainly other sun people. You can't serve two masters. So that's why they ignored the problem and allowed people to keep getting killed. And allowed children to keep being in the line of fire to save face. That's criminal. That's unforgivable. Somebody's head needs to roll for that.
Plane outside, just a few feet away, as gunfire erupted. We spoke with the father of those children earlier this week, and as city leaders begin to discuss gun violence, they're under criticism for not taking urgent action. Jennifer Dowling on the story tonight. I know you talked to a lot of folks. What did you learn, Jennifer?
Well, Jeff, we did talk to the PPA this evening, and they say one of the reasons that we've been unable to stop the increase in gun violence is because of staffing shortages. And we also talked to the dad who had a random case of gun violence happen in his neighborhood and threaten his children, as you mentioned. And we talked to him a couple of weeks ago. We talked to him again today, and he says he's still frustrated that city leaders haven't come up with an immediate plan to stop the violence.
I grabbed my 5-year-old daughter who was on the sidewalk next to me, ran and hid her behind the fence.
Adam Johnson said he and his kids had a close call when gunfire rang out September 5th while they were in the yard.
Just as I was laying her down is when the bullets rang out.
The tense moments were caught on video. Although his daughter was safe, he didn't know where his 3-year-old son was.
Could you imagine the trepidation, the fear that this guy went through when he heard them? And that's why it's good to have dads, because dad was like, he went out there, he ain't just scream, he went out there and got them little kids. Salute to dad, man. But can you imagine what his heart pounding? He knows what's happening in the stand. He knows what's going on in Black. They kill kids all the time. They don't care. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. They'll kill, if the kid's out there, so what? It means nothing if the little kids are right there. If you're standing behind the kids, we just shoot in that area and the kids get hit and that's it. So he knows. Could you imagine what his heart was doing at that moment? Oh my God.
Just as I was laying her down, is when the bullets rang out.
The tense moments were caught on video. Although his daughter was safe, he didn't know where his 3-year-old son was. Adam ran past the shooter looking for him. Fortunately, he'd already returned to the garage safely.
My son, when I picked him up, he says, what are the bad guys doing?
Racist little boy. Little racist in training.
My son, when I picked him up, he says, what are the bad guys doing?
Now Adam wants to know what immediate action the city will take to stop people from opening fire in Portland's neighborhoods.
I would really like our mayor to understand that whatever action he takes isn't going to please everybody. There's going to be people that are upset with whatever he does. And our current situations in the city require someone to be bold.
Let me decode that for you guys who having trouble translating through the minutia of what he's saying. He's saying everybody is not going to be happy, i.e. the wokely woke mob, sun people, the activists. They're not going to be happy if you do the one thing that works, the only thing that works. Lock them up, meaning more police to round them up, hardcore prosecutors to actually prosecute them and charge them, and hardcore judges to actually sentence them to long sentences for their crimes, or sentences that meet fit their crimes. So this guy, we know this guy was protesting. We know he was wokeity woke. We know he was at the marches, at the rallies. We know he had the black BLM sign in the front yard. We know he was cutting off family members who were Trump supporters. We know he was online chastising people who, were tone deaf and making tone deaf statements and insensitive comments during the height of, the Blackistanian spring and the summer of Floyd. We know he was doing all that. But now, it's hit home. He almost had a heart attack when Pookie and Ray Ray showed up and started spraying right in front of his kids. Now, it's time for a look. Cut the crap, y'all. Playtime is over. Let's get serious, man. No. You asked for this. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Don't give them no more police. Let these people suffer. Let these people wallow in the mud, in the filth that they made the whole country wallow in. This wokeopolis has destroyed plenty of cities, coast to coast, and made it unlivable for many hardworking Americans of all nationalities, races. And it was nice white people like him, nice glacier gliders that were well-intentioned and just wanted to, make a difference. You made a difference, all right. Now live with it.
I would really like our mayor to understand that whatever action he takes isn't going to please everybody. There's going to be people that are upset with whatever he does. And our current situations in the city require someone to be bold.
The executive director of the Portland Police Association says the PPA has its own idea for how the city should reduce gun violence.
That is directly linked to the defunding of the Portland Police Bureau as well as the destaffing.
Daryl Turner says the city should hire more officers, add more funding, and institute a retire-rehire program to bring officers back.
Bring back police officers who retired in a role that they could help solve some of the gaps in the staffing, the street-level patrol officers, as well as in some of the specialty units that we need to fill.
He says getting rid of the gun violence reduction team has also played a role.
We immediately saw a spike in gun violence.
Meantime, Adam says he's not sure where the city goes from here.
It's disheartening, and I'm not really sure where we go now.
And after meetings yesterday and today, here's how far city commissioners got in terms of solutions. In the short term, the mayor is working to restaff the police bureau. He's going to submit a proposal in the fall to fund a retire-rehire initiative for police, which allows them to quickly increase the number of active officers on a limited basis, a limited duration basis, that is. The budget discussion will happen at the end of this month, and we'll be definitely tracking that to see how it pans out. Live in Portland, Jennifer Dowling, KOIN 6 News.
Yeah.